sports to a whole new level. Whether it's a local opinion or a national agenda, everything is fair game. Remember, everyone has an opinion, but only few can back it up. Now sit back, crank up the volume, and if you think you can handle it, get ready for the heat.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into Heat Ratio Live, episode 147, almost at 47. The Blizzard edition, I should say, because the snow sucks, and I've had enough of it already. But welcome in, everybody. Tony Jigsaw Catillo, Dan Green. Tonight, taking the place of Mr. John Coker, Coach Dave Dixon, is my good buddy, Mr. Vince Quinn, CBS Sports Radio, Last Out Media, 94 WIP Sports Radio, a guy that's probably... only guy I know may be busier than I am. But Vince, what's up, buddy? Welcome in, man.
Yo, Dan, Tony, what's going on, guys? Happy to finally be on the Heat Ratio.
Yeah, man, it's been a while, man. Listen, for all you don't know, me and Vince go back a little bit, talk a lot. I remember when listening to him late nights when he'd be filling in for Big Daddy Graham as a show right now, Last Out Media, which
I work cool. On that. That's one of the many millions of things that I do. So I'm working with Big Daddy on that. Yeah, exactly.
It's good to hear his voice back on the airways, man. Guy's been through a ton of shit lately, so good to hear him actually back and moving around a little bit, which is a breath of fresh air. But we got a lot of stuff to get into tonight. Tons of stuff to fit into this hour and 15 version. We're going to talk Sixers. We're going to Joel Embiid, Eastern Conference Player of the Month today. A lot of good things with the Sixers. The Eagles, I don't know. Got some issues about that. We're talking about Super Bowl 55. We got some baseball to talk about. I got a couple really good trivia questions for you guys. We got the inevitable Jigsaw Chronicles. I have something that's been on my mind. I always have something every week. And then we're going to talk a little walk-up baseball music. Like, think about that now, guys. It's going to be later, but what would be like your favorite walk-up song to come into? And I know everybody knows that I'm a hip-hop guy, but I got a surprise for everybody. I really do. But we got to get right into the Eagles talk real fast. And a lot of things going on. I want to get Vince and Dan involved in this conversation because there's a lot of Carson Wentz things. And I know people say, we don't want to call Carson Wentz. Well, listen, people, unfortunately, that is a topic. It is real. It is legit. The guy's been silent. He's been ghosting everybody, hasn't said a word. In my opinion, that just means he wants to go bye-bye. Bye, Felicia. He doesn't want to be around anymore. If he was, then he'd be outspoken about what he wants. If he's a leader, this is my thing. And Vince, I'll go right to you first because you are the guest on the show. The one thing I have about Carson is everybody's telling me that he's this big, tremendous leader. And all that stuff about him was all smoke and mirrors. And the question I have is, if you are a leader, wouldn't you be the first one vocally, number one, come out in support of your coach who got fired? Number two, come out in support of your teammates. Number three, come out and say, I'm ready for the new coach, the new era, the new generation. We haven't heard nothing from Carson Wentz except a little video for Rodney McLeod. That's about all we've heard from Carson Wentz. So, Vince, tell me, what's your thoughts on this whole Carson being silent kind of thing?
Well, yes, I'll say this, because even if he was not saying anything about Doug Peterson, he's got issues with Doug or his teammates or whatever. Here's the thing. For it to float around the way that it has been, that he doesn't want to be here, and he keeps letting it go, clearly he doesn't want to be here. Like, he doesn't need to make a public statement. He doesn't even need to go to a press conference and stand at a podium and say, listen, everybody, I want to stay here. I believe in the team. Like, he can do all that crap if he wants. But, let's be honest here. He's got an agent. He's like, where do these reports come from? The front office is leaking stuff left and right. They crushed Doug Peterson on the way out the door. Holy shit. So for that to be what it was, and for Wentz, he could say whatever he wants to his agent, the same way Deshaun Watson has leaked stuff. He could do a lot of different things to get it out there, and he hasn't done it. And so for him to do literally nothing to change the story that he doesn't want to be here, you got to believe he doesn't want to be here.
I completely agree. I mean, you could make a good point about the agent. I didn't even think about that, that agenda, because you can get, like you said, the team's leaking stuff out. Why can't the agent leak something out? Why, I don't understand. Why can't the agent say, Carson right now, he's ready for the season? We haven't heard any. It's complete ghost, man. He's been like Casper, so to speak. No pun intended, but you know what I mean? But he has, man. Dan, what do you think, buddy?
I think Vince is spot on. Silence actually speaks volumes. So he seems like a good guy. So you would think he would be the high road kind of fella that would, do the right thing, say the right thing, be politically correct. If he had an inkling that he was staying, but I think he knows he's out. Rumors were, and Vince could speak to this more than me, that he not only was he out with Doug Peterson, he's out with Howie and the whole administration. So, just getting rid of Doug didn't placate Carson's issues, apparently. So I agree with Vince. I think he wants out. So why say anything that could ultimately get the question, do you want to stay here? And then he's going to give you some nonsense talk.
But here's the thing. You don't even have to do that. Like, I don't even look. I'm not even looking for cards to say, I can't wait to be here. But hey, how about something to say you woke up this morning, you're alive? I mean, we used to see him all the time posting pictures with his dogs, right? He's on Instagram with his dogs and his wife. You don't see anything from Carson Wentz. Nothing. It is the weirdest thing I've ever seen it. And I know, Dan, you talk about all the stuff that we've heard. He went. I don't even know if that's true because I don't know. I obviously think that Carson was not, or Doug wasn't a Carson guy. I think that's when inevitably we got Doug fired. Doug went into that office. He wanted to promote guys that, from within that they didn't want to hear. And he wanted to go ahead with Jalen Hurts. I really think Jalen was his guy. And I think that was like, all right, that's it. We need to get somebody else in here that's going to hopefully fix Carson. And here comes Nick Sirianni, who, listen, man, I'm not going to kill the guy, okay? I've stuttered before. I've had issues, right? I understand that. But my problem is, and here's what I'll pose to you guys. We've heard this huge coaching search, which we always hear. We always hear with the Eagles. 6-7 hour interviews. We have to do our due diligence, emotional intelligence, all this bullshit that Jeffrey Lurie gives us, right? All the time. But the thing is, how did that guy go into an interview? And he specifically said to the media and to us, to everybody, he hasn't watched any film yet. That's the one thing that sticks with me. So you went into a meeting. How were you prepared? How did you go in there and say, I've watched this. I think we could do this. He's saying he didn't watch any film. He knows nothing about the players. Zero. That guy looked so unprepared. I hate to say it, but he did. And I hope it was just stage fright. I hope. But again, there was some videos posted of him in Indianapolis. He didn't sound too sure of himself out there either. So I'm really not understanding this whole direction. I'm shocked. Vince, what do you think?
Well, here's part of the thing, Tony. I don't know how much it matters if he watches tape or not. Is he making any of the calls?
That's true.
What control does he have? I think that's a pretty big indicator of what this whole situation is. It's the Howie Roseman show, right? He's going to dictate the 53-man roster. He's going to have J.J. Arcega-Whiteside starting for 8 weeks of the year. Like, that's the Howie element to this. It doesn't matter. He could come up and be like, listen, guys, I think Jalen Hurts is 50 times better than Wentz. And he'll be like, well, that's great, fella. How about you go out there and put Carson on the field? Yeah. I'm like, that's what's going to happen. So it doesn't matter. It looked bad. Don't get me wrong. It looked bad, and I feel it. But, he has no say.
Yeah, he does. He doesn't. He really doesn't. Mike, what's up, Mike? As always, avid follower checking in. How many other teams are talking a lot right now? It's mostly just Watson and then Chiefs and Bucks players. Well, here's the thing, though. At least Watson, his agent came out with, basically saying whether it's true or not that he's going to sit out the season. He wants to be traded. At least you hear his name. Something's happening. We're not even hearing Carson's name, and that's the problem. The biggest thing to me is if your whole perspective that you hear from the national media, whether it be locally or nationally, you hear that you lost the locker room a little bit. Veterans were complaining about maybe your ego being too big. There's one way to get above that, and that's to talk. So if you're not talking, you're not going to win back the locker room. So that's an issue too. So that's what makes me think he's basically just saying bye-bye. I mean, that's what he's saying to me. And I don't know where we go from here. Who knows? We got at least 2 to 3 years probably because this guy Sirianni is basically a puppet. You can already see exactly what you guys know. So let me ask you right about the roster. So I don't want to I don't want to talk about some of these things for 20 minutes because we could, but we've already hashed them out. So Jalen Mills, and one of the guys who for me personally, I would bring back. I know there's, should we bring him back? He didn't play well. Number one, he was out of position. They played him completely out of position last year. He's a corner. He's not a safety. I don't care what you say. He is a corner. He's not a number one corner. He's a number two corner. So I think he's a really good corner to put next to Darius Slay. So for me, for my money, you bring him back. At least he knows the system. At least he is a guy for the most part can stay healthy. But for me, Jalen Mills, he comes back. Dan, Jalen Mills, you bringing him back?
I'll bring him back as a depth guy, but there's no way he's a starting corner.
You don't think he's a number two?
No, he's slow. I mean, he's the guy that's the poster child for what's been wrong with our defensive backs and the defensive coaching. He doesn't turn his head to ever look for the ball.
That's true. I'll give you that.
He's just so damn slow. And I think he actually would have been a decent corner if he had the cerebral ability to be a corner. I mean, Seth Joyner's mentioned that countless times. Back when we had Rasul Douglas, they were kind of like clones of each other as far as big corners that were slow that should have been converted to safety. But you need, when I say cerebral, I'm not saying he's not bright. I'm just saying there's a lot of you're the quarterback of the defensive backfield, the safety. So you bring him back for depth, but I'm not in love with him at all.
Well, put it this way. If it's him or Avonte Maddox playing second corner, give me Jalen Mills. Now, if they draft a guy in the first round, or second round, then fine. Then give me a depth guy. But what scares me is if he is a depth guy, you mentioned safety. And, Vince, we all know that Rodney McLeod, we don't know if he's going to be back. The guy's 30-plus years old, torn ACL, making a lot of money. Okay, great guy, but unfortunately it is a business. I don't want to see them sign, Jalen Mills and put him back at safety. So you bringing him back, Vince?
Yeah, I am. Because they're in a salary cap crunch. They've only got so many things that they can bring in. So if you can get Jalen Mills on the cheap, and at the very least, you know what he is as a player, and you know what his like his work ethic, and guys in the locker room like him. He's a good energy guy. You see all those videos of him before the game getting guys hyped up. So all those elements are good to have. If the price is right, which it probably will be, right? Like what's he?
Absolutely.
I mean, the market for everybody's going to tank this year. So you got to figure he's going to be basically a vet minimum. So for a vet minimum, am I taking Jalen Mills? Yeah, I'll take a fringe starter at a vet minimum. Done.
That's what I'm saying. I'm with you 100%. Now, Vinny checking in says Xavier Rhodes at cornerback is a name to watch. Yeah. Didn't have a great year, but again, he knows this system. On defense, he's a guy that played under Sirianni before, back in the day. So. And it could be a name to watch. We'll see. I like this. Our boy Jason checking in says, and this was a question, so I guess maybe we'll just segue to it right now, is Deshaun Watson. Basically, is there anything you wouldn't give up for Deshaun Watson? And I don't mean that as an Eagles perspective, but, if Stafford gets 2 first, Jason says, what's Watson going to pull 3 or 4? And here's the thing. If I am a GM, I think we all agree the most important part of a football team is the quarterback. So if you have a big issue at quarterback and you have the draft capital and you have a team that, like I always call them Oakland, like the Las Vegas Raiders, something, I always call it's a habit. I like Oakland.
I do it too.
Right?
The Chargers are still in San Diego, by the way.
I know. That bothers me the most. The Chargers bothers me the most.
I hate that. I love, that's why it's like, what was it, Gruden that was wearing the wrong hat in one of the games? He was wearing an Oakland hat. They made him take it off. Come on, John. Got to do better than that, man. Got to do better than that. But my question is there anything that's obviously 7 first-round picks? But, I mean, come on. Deshaun Watson is actually been referred to as the Michael Jordan of the NFL. There's a lot of things this guy can do. He can. In my opinion, a lot of people, I already see Dan's looking over there, but if you look at his fantasy statistics and you look at the points that he's put up, which translates to your NFL production, he was a number 5 quarterback in the NFL based on numbers, and he had nobody. He was throwing to all 3 of us, basically. I mean, he had nobody last year. So if you took this kid and put him on any other team like Oakland or Vegas, don't call me Oakland, but maybe if you took him and put him on Baltimore instead of Lamar Jackson, just say maybe you put him on Tennessee instead of Ryan Tannehill. Maybe even put him on the Jets. I'll tell you what, I would take Deshaun Watson, put him on the Jets with Jamison Crowder, with Denzel Mims. Right away, I'm telling you right now, that would be a legit team. But is there anything, Dan, what do you think? Is there anything you would think is way too much for Deshaun Watson, a franchise 26-year-old quarterback?
Well, first off, I'm a fan of his. We had a whole debate on the show once about him. I was trying to. So I am a fan. You wanted to start Jalen Hurts over him, but that's a whole nother story.
For fantasy.
Correct. Correct. But you mentioned he's a fantasy beast, so that makes him a top 5 quarterback. So I'm building on that.
I hear you. All right.
So for me, getting back to Jason's question, and I'll tie it into your question, a lot of trading, like the Rams gave up a lot, but they're going to be a team that finishes high, with a great record every year. So the other team isn't really getting the best assets back. So if the Jets give up, a lot of picks for Watson, that's more enticing to Houston than say maybe the Raiders. The ideal spot for me for Watson is the Miami Dolphins. Because you could put Tua into the package. I'm not a Tua fan, but maybe people out there are. So you package Tua, some draft picks. They got weapons there too. I think that's a great spot for him.
Vince, what do you think about Deshaun?
Yeah, Miami's a great spot. Totally agree on that. And you had reports. I mean, Tua played like 4 weeks, and they were like, "Yeah, they're not sure if they really like Tua or not." Like,
he's got no arm strength. No arm strength.
Well, yeah, and he's scared. He's definitely scared out there. So that is something you worry about, which is weird because you saw him at Alabama. And it was like, holy shit, this guy, the national championship game. So it's weird how it's gone for him. But if they're nervous about him and Watson's available, you got to look at that. So then, what is the price and what makes sense for Watson? And the Jets make the most sense in terms of what can actually get done, because for the Jets to have the number 2 overall pick in the draft this year, that's the tangible asset you can say right now, right here, is ridiculously valuable. So you can go and give up all those firsts, but the same thing for the Rams. If you're going and you're giving up a couple of firsts, but they're late round firsts, what are they really worth, right? It's a little bit different. So number 2 pick in the draft, Jets have another first this year. I think they've got 2 firsts next year. You just give up 2 years worth of drafts and you get Deshaun Watson. And by the way, 4 first rounders is worth it for Deshaun Watson. That's about as far as I go. But because honestly, has there ever been a guy as talented as Watson that's actually available at this age? I don't think I've ever seen it in my life. And the closest thing I can think is like Drew Brees had a good season. He had one good season before he was Drew Brees and he was injured and all that stuff. And then he hit the market. And outside of that, I got nothing. I mean, injured Dante Culpepper, who washed out of the league with Miami, actually. That was fun. But these guys aren't available. They're just not available. So if you're giving up everything to get a known commodity, who needs draft picks when you got the real thing and you can have the real thing for at least 10 years? It's 10 years a quarterback. Like, it's such a no-brainer. It's crazy.
I agree. I agree. I would do 4 first-round picks. Absolutely. I would definitely do that. Why not? Like you said, you're going to have this guy for the next 10 years. He's going to be – look what Matt Stafford – Look what Matthew Stafford got from, or I should say the Rams got, or Rams gave to Detroit to get Matt Stafford. And wow, what a flip for Jared Goff. Remember all that Jared Goff, Carson Wentz talk? Man, that really took a shit real early, didn't it? But, we were talking about that for how long? It's like, wait a minute. Now all of a sudden, both these guys are trash. Right?
Well, think about that. You had Jameis Winston, Marcus Mariota, both shit the bed. Yep. There's another draft that's escaped me where our RG3 draft.
It was RG3 and Luck.
Yeah, RG3 Luck and there was a third guy. I'm drawing a blank. But these guys that you're thank God we had Carson, because he is not RG3. He's not Marcus Mariota. Oh my God, he almost had probably the worst quarterback year I've ever seen. And he turned into those guys right in front of our eyes. So it could happen to anybody. It's just crazy.
It could. And Al, listen, Al, I love you, man.
Stills didn't even play. Come on.
Right.
Come
I
on,
love you, Al. You're my half-court Heat brother, but let me just tell you something. Like, number one, Cooks barely played. Still stinks. Right?
And Fuller's always hurt.
Released, right? And then Fuller was playing well, but let's not forget that they traded away his number one wide receiver for nothing. They traded away for some guy who basically is playing on crutches every week in David Johnson. And then they got away. They traded his left tackle and Laramie Tunzel, right? Wait, they traded him to Miami, right? Or Miami?
They got him from Miami.
Yeah, other way.
So they get a guy who was wearing an N95 mask, getting high, before the draft, remember? And he dropped. Now he's a very good player, but it just shows you how dysfunctional that organization is out there in Houston. So why not want to get away from it? So I'm sorry, but I'm giving up. I wish this was like the NBA, right? We give up a 2035 first-round pick. Like, I was laughing at some of the trades. Like, wait a minute. How far in advance can we go here, man? This is great. Yeah, I'll give you 2040. Why not? Probably be dead by then. It really doesn't matter. But, yeah, unbelievable. Unbelievable. Jamar, you're right. D-Hops would trade for a pack of now-and-laters. Now-and-laters will rip your crowns out, by the way. So don't do that. I'll tell you that. I never cared about that when I was 16. But now that I'm 40, yeah, I'm giving a shit about that. But, yeah, listen, let's go. We'll stay with football. And listen, we got a big game, Super Bowl 55. Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, Andy Reid, Bruce Arians. And before I get to the football, and Vince, because you're our guest, me and Dan have battled about this. And my boy Mikey Googs, who's not on, has not battled, but laughed about this. I'm going to show you a picture. And you, please, Dan knows where I'm going. Explain to me what the hell this is and why I see this on Bruce Arians. When I see that, like, is he playing laser tag? Is he like, why does Bruce Arians feel the need to wear a box on his chest that looks like he has a pacemaker, for the Christ's sake? I don't like, have you ever seen this before? Have you noticed this, or am I the only one?
Yeah, I've seen it. It's a little movie called Iron Man. So I think that's what he's going for. Maybe Bruce Arians is Iron Man.
Yeah, I'll tell you, man. It's just one of those things. I people watch. I'm like a Walmart watcher, right? And I'm looking, what the hell is that on his chest? And he's got it on his back too. It's crazy. It's unbelievable.
Well, the thing is, the only thing I could speculate, Tone, is he wears the mask under the fish tank. And, he's a cancer survivor. So I'm just thinking he's ultra paranoid about COVID. So he
could be.
And that has to enhance the sound, obviously, with all the stuff he's got on his face.
See, Dan, that's why I have you here, man. You are the voice. I'm killing this guy.
I'll be here all week,
man. I love it, man. I love it. That's portable defibrillator for a heart attack, Tamar says. Yeah, exactly. But let's get right into this game, because this is a big game and it's going to be weird. Obviously, is it 8,000 fans? Is that what I read? I think it's like 8,000 fans are allowing in. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but you have Tampa Bay playing at home, and I know the numbers are crazy high. And you look at even the over, when you look at prop bets and the over, Patrick Mahomes at 325, which is really high. Brady at 299. Everything is all in the Chiefs' favor, which kind of scares me just a little bit, because it is Tom Brady. I don't care if he's 43 or not. It's still Tom Brady. And it's hard to bet against Tom. So here's my question, and I don't even care about predictions, but Vince, what's one of the things, or maybe a quirky thing you think that could go wrong in this game, or what's your actual view of what this contest should be like for Super Bowl 55?
Well, what it's going to be like, one, it's going to be the total opposite of that Rams-Patriots Super Bowl 2 years back, which was, yeah, exactly. That was the worst Super Bowl ever. Nobody enjoyed it, including the people that played the game. Patriots left the game, and they're like, that fucking sucked. Yeah. So, yeah, that was a miserable game. So it's not going to be that. And one of the fun things about this, and really the ultimate exciting thing about this, is if the game is within 2 scores anywhere towards the end of the fourth quarter, you believe any team can win. The scoring, it's not just the general points they put up, the volatility. The big playability of both of these teams is really good. So it's one of those games where you can't walk away from the television for a single game or a single play, because you just know something big could happen. And having that kind of excitement, that's what this is all about, right? Like because I mean, at this point, Andy's already won it, so that takes a little bit out. I hate Tom Brady's guts, so I guess that's like the biggest exciting thing I have. But like, really, it's just watching quality football. Like, you just know you're getting a great game, and that's what I'm excited about.
I have to agree with that, definitely. Dan, what do you think, buddy?
I've got a few things.
No way.
We all. I know. I man of few words here. Tom Brady getting back to the Super Bowl on a new team. This is like a historic Hollywood script story right now. I mean, that can't be overlooked. We all don't like the man. I mean, it's like enough already. But he got back to the Super Bowl on another team. The Patriots were awful this year, so that put the kibosh on that argument. Like, who really, made the Patriots a dynasty? So, but to answer your other question, it's Tom Brady. Can he be stopped? Tone, I'll give you one word. Spagnola.
Oh, I thought you were gonna. I thought you were gonna go the other way. Well, I thought you were gonna say Nick Foles, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I mean Spagnola schemed up 2 Super Bowls already against the man.
That's true.
So I don't think he's intimidated or scared. He'll just scheme for the quarterback, and it's gonna. I think it's gonna be a high scoring affair. So I'm looking forward to it, just from the fandom perspective, from some of my fantasy lineups. I'm looking forward to the game. It's definitely, Vince, not going to be 9-6.
So let me ask you this. So again, because I think it's like 80% of the time the quarterback wins an MVP. Let's just take the quarterbacks out. If I said to you guys, you can't pick the quarterback. If it was somebody besides the quarterbacks, whether either team, doesn't matter, who would be your MVP? Who would you predict to be MVP? Vince, what do you think?
All right, first guy, it's got to be Travis Kelce.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, just the way they go to him and how consistent. I mean, he was what, second in the league in receiving by the end of the season?
Oh, he was unbelievable.
I mean, he's just one of the most dynamic, ridiculously good players in the league. And the way they use him in all those different ways, because you think, okay, MVP, you want to see touchdowns, right? Like, they love running that shovel pass underneath. Who gets that? Oh. Travis Kelce always does, right? So
that shovel pass.
Yeah, I mean, that could be the kind of thing that decides it. Is like he's got 2 touchdowns and Tyreek Hill has 1 or something like that. So if you're going to make the smart pick, I guess, and also the Bucs, I believe, I forget where I was listening to this earlier. Somebody was saying that the Bucs are just notoriously awful against tight ends this year. So
yes.
So there's a lot of things that stack up, and you say, hey, if this is how it's going to go, it's going to be Travis Kelce is the guy.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree. That guy has been phenomenal. And here's the thing, he's the same age as Gronk. I didn't even realize. I'd seen that. I was like, what? Like Gronk looks like he has a bad paper route compared to Travis Kelce, man. Must have been all those body shots up on the yacht for Mr. Gronk. But hey, he's probably lived a life, so I'm sure it doesn't matter to him. But Dan, what do you think, buddy?
I was going to say Kelce or Hill for the obvious reasons. Right. Now, getting back to Kelce, though, he's an extremely talented player to begin with. But when you have cheetahs on the outside spreading the field, the middle is wide open. So when you have the middle wide open and you got a premier tight end, extremely talented tight end on top of it, that's why he's getting 7 to 11 catches like every single game. Now, if you guys recall earlier in the year, I think it was against Tampa Bay, Tyreek Hill, I think, had 240 yards in the first quarter.
Yeah.
So, obviously a game like that, you go to Hill. But last year, Mahomes didn't deserve the MVP. Do you recall who should have gotten the MVP last year?
No, my squirrel brain has no idea.
No.
Damian Williams.
Yeah. Yeah, he did have a huge game.
And it was, they gave it to the quarterback. So if we were having this conversation last year and someone said, I think at Damian Williams, they could have and should have been right. And now you have you have Darrell Williams and CEH. I think Darrell Williams is going to be more of the featured back for the Chiefs as well. Yeah, so he's a sneaky peek also.
See, now I'll flip it and I'll go Tampa Bay. And I think this is going to be a huge Antonio Brown game. I really do. I think this is going to be Antonio Brown in the spotlight, show everybody. Listen, I may be crazy. I may be a lunatic. I may have lost my mind half the time, but I could still play damn football. And Tom Brady is going to make sure, I know he loves Mike Evans, but I'm telling you this, to me, And again, the Chiefs, you mentioned Spagnuolo. The Chiefs are good defensively, but they're not great. Besides Tyrann Mathieu, they're not that great in the secondary. So, if Mathieu can kind of be guided, and kind of maybe look at Gronk, because somebody's going to have to cover Gronk, then it's going to leave Antonio Brown open up the seam and through the middle of the field. So I don't think anybody can cover him deep. They have a lot of weapons. You talk about Godwin and Evans and Brown, and then you got Scotty Miller playing like the Wes Welker role, and you have Gronk. I mean, it's, and then you have Fournette, and then you have Roja. I mean, there's so many weapons on this team.
And imagine if O.J. Howard wasn't injured.
Think
about
right.
that. Think about that. And Cameron Brate's been the best tight end on the team for a month now.
Crazy. It's crazy how much talent they have. But, you both hit the nail on the head. One thing we know for damn sure, this is going to be a fun game to watch. Thank God, because, listen, the football year has sucked with no fans. Say what you want. It was funny. I was loving watching that Cleveland game. Even though they lost, but they showed a lot of heart in that game. Just to see, that was the most fans I seen in a stadium jumping up around. Oh, yeah, I was like, wow, we're almost getting to a little bit of normalcy, a little bit. That's the one good thing I look forward to. But here's the thing: this just comes right to Andy Reid. If Andy Reid, I still can't, because so many of us dogged Andy, killed Andy Reid in this town. And what he does is sticking it all up our ass, right? He wins a ring, and now he can win another ring. And here's the thing, even if he doesn't win a ring, I'm curious to hear you guys tell me because I don't want to get cliche, but like, is he better than Belichick? Listen, one thing's for damn sure, Andy Reid is a Hall of Fame, one of the best coaches ever to coach in the NFL. But if you look at names and look back in the day, even when you bring guys like Don Shula up, right? You bring those Steve Walsh up, you bring all these great coaches. Where does Andy Reid rank for you? Like, I don't even need to know what your ranking is. Do you think he's top? He's definitely top 5 to me. He's got to be top 5. Is there any way you could see him not being in the top 5? Dan, what do you think?
This is, I guess, a hard question to answer.
It's not easy.
For a guy that's been around for how many years? He was 14 with the Eagles and 6. How many years he's been in the league?
He's got to be 20,
Since,
right?
Like 2012,
okay,
right? 2013.
Yeah.
The Kansas City.
All right, so let's say he's been in a year. So for a guy that's been here for 20 years, it's a little too early to say something right now. But I think the Super Bowl victories will definitely lock him.
Yep.
But Andy Reid has never been a poor coach from the innovative standpoint.
True. His
issue was, all those years we were crying for wide receivers, and then we had T.O. and he had some time with Deshaun Jackson. But other than that, he just made he was, what's that saying about making something out of lemonade? Whatever. I'm not the greatest. What I'm saying?
I don't know what that shit is.
But with the Chiefs, I mean, it's like he's got weapons. It's like unbelievable. So his innovation with these stud talented players is making him look like a genius. And it's legit. That being said, in his early stages with the Chiefs, he still had the clock management issues. The year we got Doug Peterson, they had a horrible playoff game against the Patriots. Last year, I think Shanahan gave the Super Bowl away. I think he just, coached poorly, made some bad decisions. So Reid is a phenomenal game planner. He's a phenomenal play caller. I still think he has some issues with managing the game at times, but with this team, you can make mistakes and then play catch up ball. Like Vince was saying, no 14-point lead is going to be safe at the end of the game, as Vince referenced earlier. So I don't think the Chiefs are up against it with salary cap, with contracts expiring. I think that they could be in this for a couple years now.
I agree.
I think he's definitely in the next couple. He's definitely going to get a second Super Bowl for sure. If not, obviously next week in the near future. I think he's going to have 3 or 4 Super Bowl rings with this team. That's how good they are.
So too. I do. It was, again, we get back to the Deshaun Watson comment. Patrick Mahomes. You have
he's not going. He's not going anywhere.
Right. You have a 25-plus-year-old quarterback who's going to play in his prime for the next 10 years. I know and then that's the crazy part. That's the crazy part.
Real fast before I give Vince the chance to talk, because Vince, I don't say much. I
talk too
again.
Much anyway,
It goes back to what I was saying earlier with him making the most of his talent. A guy like Mecole Hardman, if he was on the Eagles, he could be Bryce Treggs for all we know, right? And if somehow Hill got injured, you remember how he drafted Mecole Hardman because they thought Hill was going to be suspended, I believe. And I think Byron Pringle would be a stud if he was given more minutes on the Chiefs. So they just got weapons after weapons. And if they do lose guys to free agency, he's got so much speed on that team. It's just insane. And all of them can play.
You know what's funny? Think about what you just said in that last comment. You named all these wide receivers. It's so like hypocritical in Andy's standpoint, right?
I know. That's what I said earlier.
It's crazy. So now all of a sudden he's kind of changed his ways. But one thing I will say is you mentioned innovation, but I think a lot of people will look more towards how many NFC championship games he lost because they were so hurtful. They were. The Tampa game I still have nightmares about. I still can't believe Jake Delhomme from Carolina came in here and kicked our ass. It's unbelievable. I can't get past that. But what I will say is Marv Levy, Marv Levy's a Hall of Fame coach. He just didn't win it. No, he lost all those championship games too. So Andy Reid has set himself apart from other coaches. Scotty, our boyfriend Scotty, talked about, let's not forget his willingness to work with troubled players. You talk about, Tyreek Hill. Talk about Michael Vick. Talk about guys he allowed to come and reinvent themselves back into the league or even get started when they had a bad reputation. Andy Reid is the ultimate players coach. They love playing for Big Red no matter where. And he sets a culture. I know we hear this word a lot, but he sets a culture on every team he goes to. And everybody just lines up for this guy. Vince, the problem he had with his son, God rest his soul, when his son passed away. Everybody came to support Andy. And that showed a human factor of Andy Reid that we don't always see from coaches. Tony Dungy had that moment because he had the issues with his son as well. So, that's why I think Andy Reid should be put up on that pedestal. So that's my opinion. Vince, what do you think?
Yeah, I put him in the top 5. You have to. I mean, for the 20 years that he's been in the league, how many coaches in the history of the league have been to as many conference championships as Andy Reid has? I mean, seriously. And then that's going to be piled on with everything else that he does with Mahomes. So that's one thing. The guy's constantly been successful. He's done it with all these different quarterbacks. When McNabb would get hurt, it's Jeff Garcia. It's A.J. Feely. He did that again and again and again and again. His ability to identify talent. What he did with Brian Westbrook as a third-round pick and making him just into a ridiculously good player. It was just it was phenomenal. So Andy Reid, to be able to do this NFC, AFC, to do it for this long as the game changes constantly. Because now, the NFL had that safeguard up for forever where it was we're the pros and we can't do college things and we're above that. And then everybody realized, that's actually good and works and it makes more players more successful at this level. So let's do those things. So the game's changed so dramatically. And he's been good through all of those changes. He's not a guy that just had an era and fell off. It's not a 3 or 4 year window. It really is a competitive 20-year window. I mean, it's insane what he's done. And it's not just that, but also the assistant coaches. I mean, how many assistant coaches? He's beaten Sean McDermott to get to the Super Bowl, right? That's his guy. John Harbaugh and the success that he's had. All the different, Marty Morningweg, Brad Childress, all these different guys over the years. So you pile all of that stuff up, and it's just amazing what he's done. Also, the comedic value. I mean, come on. Andy Reid in the Hawaiian shirts. I mean, is there anything better than that? He makes fat jokes and talks about eating cheeseburgers. He just gets it. He gets everything. In addition to the troubled players and turning careers around. That Andy Reid is one of the most remarkable, unbelievable things I've ever seen. And for the era of coaching that I've been able to experience, it's Belichick and then it's Andy. It's 1 and 2.
See, I agree with you. I do. It took me a while to see it, but like you said, we talked about the Walsh coaching tree, the Holmgren coaching tree, but I'll tell you what, Andy Reid's could be the best one ever. If you think about all the guys that, I mean, you even talk about guys like Leslie Frazier, right? Guys that were on his staff. I mean, it is amazing. And Doug Peterson, as much as I still think he's a dope, he won a Super Bowl, right? I mean, hey, listen, it is what it is. I don't know if it was all him or not, but
before Andy did.
Yeah, something happened there. Not sure, but you still won. I get it. Hey, whatever. But yeah, Andy Reid's definitely for me top 5. 1, 2, Belichick, Andy Reid. I'm serious. I'm with you. I really like what Andy's been able to do.
No, for this generation, absolutely. When you said all time, I was thinking I was thinking the Shulas, the Bill Walshes,
Well, I think. Even though when you bring up the Shulas and the Walshes and we talk, even Jimmy Johnson has to be put up there a little bit, right?
Even Tom Coughlin.
Yeah, Bill Cowher, Tom Coughlin. I mean, yeah, but to stand the test of time, I think is the biggest thing.
No, Andy and Vince, I believe, referenced it. And I even referenced it. I mean, think of Andy with the Eagles to Andy with the Chiefs. It's like a different human being. It's like it's like he shit Chip Kelly out of his body, and it's like now I'm an innovator.
Yeah, exactly
with personality.
Yeah, exactly. So here's the fun thing about Andy Reid is, like Vince said, I mean, he's very jovial. He plays to the players' strengths as crazy. I mean, we hated that statement, right? We put the players in the best ability to make plays. Right? We talk like it was so cliche. It's like, oh my God, like, are we going to hear this again? Right? But at the end of the day, at least he's been able to get himself back to kind of, he had a tough time the last couple of years in Philly. He lost the team. We all knew, people were calling for his job. And when you're a Hall of Fame resume type coach, it's hard to go through that. And I'm actually happy that he's been able to reinvent himself. I know, Dan, you said he has a ton of talent around him. I get it, but you still have to coach that talent to the right ability. So as we switch into a little baseball talk here, I got a couple trivia questions. It'll do fun. We got about 25 minutes left on the show, so it's about halfway point. A little fun topic. Don't Google. Everybody out there, don't Google. It's not fun if you Google, right? I hate Google for that. I love Google, but I hate Google for that reason. So I got a couple. First one, I will ask one, let people think about it. I think it's a pretty good one, but who's the only pitcher in Major League Baseball history to win at least 15 games per season for 17 straight seasons? That's a huge mark. One of my favorite guys. But again, let me know. What do you think? In the next coming weeks, we have some announcements coming up. We'll be giving away some free stuff. So this is kind of this segue into that. So as you guys are thinking of that, and I'll leave that question up, I want to segue into the closing Cooperstown segment I kind of have, because I think it's absolutely ridiculous that we can't vote one guy into the Hall of Fame. I mean, I think the writers have been so egotistical that they can't get past their own ass, so to speak, that they listen, man. I know everybody's going to talk about the steroid era, and I put a vote out on the page, and last time I looked, it was 65% in favor of Pete Rose. And if you could only pick one guy to put in the Hall of Fame, and you can't say nobody like these bone ass writers that did. They shafted us all for doing that. Okay, but Clemens, Bonds, Pete Rose. I will say this, for all you steroid people out there, I get it. Okay, but remember who's in the Hall of Fame. Bud Selig is in the Hall of Fame. Bud Selig was the commissioner who allowed steroids to be a part of baseball because it was dead. Baseball would have never have come back if it was not for Race for the Record, McGuire, Sosa, Bond. It would have never came back. And they all turned a blind eye to it. So if they're allowed in the Hall of Fame, I'm putting Barry in. I'm putting Roger in because they deserve to be highlighted for what they did. I consistently say that. And I'll be honest with you guys. If this is what they're going to do now, then just stop the voting altogether. I'm serious. Close up Cooperstown. Don't have a baseball Hall of Fame, because to me, it's ridiculous now. Now you made a joke. You made a mockery out of what's supposed to be one of the most prestigious accolades of a professional athlete in Major League Baseball. And that's my biggest problem with this. Listen, I'm a big wrestling guy, and I know a lot of people are like, wrestling, and they do have the WWE Hall of Fame. And I'll be honest with you, when you get guys like Ric Flair and Hulk Hogan, these are guys who changed the sports entertainment world. They deserve to be. That's a big thing for them. They're crying. Their wives are there. Their kids, they're upset. Same thing with baseball. And I think it's absolutely ridiculous that we did not vote one guy into the Hall of Fame. So before I even get to that vote and the trivia question, Vince, what's your thought on not getting one guy into the Hall of Fame?
Well, yeah, it's embarrassing, and clearly the process is broken, right? I mean, the process is broken. The sport is broken. The whole thing's screwed up. Like, how sad is it that this is supposed to be the easiest thing to do, is acknowledge that guys are so ridiculously great that they're one of the best to ever play the sport. That's all it is. You're just acknowledging the greatness of someone. You can't get 70% of people to acknowledge one single guy.
Exactly.
Even if it's not, like, get the controversial guys and throw them aside, right? Bonds, Clemens, Kurt Schilling, throw them aside. You can't get anybody else. There's nobody else in the sport. You can't, like, that's insane to me. And it's fitting. I mean, that's the problem of it. It's all fitting. And you know what? This is a sign of it only getting worse. Because let's be real, like, for baseball, they got the CBA coming up. They're trying to push back the season now. Like, this is going to be a blip on the radar because it's just nothing's easy. And so the whole sport is falling apart, and this is a nice symbolic way to show that they just can't get a guy in.
It's a good way. It's a good point, because before COVID, baseball was having fan attendance issues and they were having problems. And this is the last thing baseball needed. And now they highlight themselves negatively, in the wrong spotlight that they don't want to be in. It's just helping fuel the negativity. Dan, what do you think?
I fluctuated with this when these guys first became eligible, because I mean, Bonds was so blatant about it that.
Was he though?
Yes.
Yeah.
He was never convicted.
It was huge.
Dude.
I'm not saying he didn't do it. What I'm saying is, if you're talking about innocent to proven guilty, he was never actually convicted.
I'll pretend I didn't hear any of that. Tone. Okay, Ric Flair never did steroids either, right? So anyway,
I didn't say he didn't do it.
I'm just kidding. If wrestling, I just had to tie the wrestling thing in there because all those guys are so huge. But it was obvious. I mean, the guy's head blew up like a. I'm looking at my slam ball in my gym over here. It's as big as my slam ball over there.
Oh, stop it!
But here's where I had a change of heart. So many of the people in that time period were doing it. So you're almost a pitcher has steroids, the batter they neutralize each other, for crying out loud. So from that perspective, and Bonds, before his head turned into my slam ball, was a Hall of Fame player. Lean Barry was great with Pittsburgh in his early years with San Francisco. Roger Clemens, who I think is the answer. I won't go there to your question.
Well, hold on. I will go there. It's not.
Okay. Okay.
My guy's still alive. Then I got it.
Yeah, it's not Roger Clemens.
Okay, but Roger, again, before his body got thick, he was a stud pitcher. You remember he came up in the mid 80s. But here's the player that gets lost in all this. Vince, I look good for my age. You have no idea how old I am, right?
Oh,
I'm
you look gorgeous.
Tony. I'm a little older than Tony, but I grew up watching Mike Schmidt play, right? And right now Arenado is a phenomenal defensive third baseman. But the greatest third baseman I have ever seen is Scott Rowland.
What?
8 goals. Yes, Tony. He's he's the best third baseman I've ever seen.
That argument's been out there for a while. I mean,
I watched him play, Tony. The guy had the greatest range. He won 8 Gold Gloves. He put up solid offensive numbers. He's a fringe Hall of Famer. So if you're going to throw anyone a bone from that group, and Schilling's just a nut job.
Yeah,
and he's a great playoff performer. But if you really take his longevity coupled with his wins, he averaged 12 wins a year as a pitcher. He's just a playoff stud. But for career numbers, and if defense counts. Look at Ozzie Smith, and everyone wants Omar in one day. I think Scott Rowland was a worthy candidate.
I get it. Scott Rowland. It's just not a name I'm used to. One thing I will say is about the Royd era. You make a good point because I say that all the time about washing it out. Listen, he was hitting up against guys that were throwing at, but you've already let players in that were on roids,
right? And to support your case about not having evidence, I know for damn sure Bagwell was on roids.
Absolutely, him and Ken Caminetti. Are you kidding me?
Caminetti was. You think he might have died from it for crying out loud.
But I'm saying they were roid buddies, man. Come on.
Right. So, but Bagwell, literally, for some reason, his name never came up in any reports and
Piazza.
innuendo for whatever. Yeah, Piazza too. So,
yep.
But I agree with you. With you can Frank Thomas.
Listen, Barry Bonds, the best hitter to ever play in the game to me. I don't care what anybody says. And you can talk about roids all day long, but you still
him and Manny.
You still have to hit a baseball. You still have to hit a baseball, man.
Yeah.
And that's what it comes down to me. I say that all the time. But I understand it. It enhances your bat speed. Okay, fine. There's still a science, right? You still have to know what pitch is coming. You still have to know. You have to study counts. You have to know how to hit a breaking ball. So I mean, there's a little more to it than just taking roids and hitting. I mean, Brady Anderson took roids too. He had one good year. The rest of the years he sucked. We can name plenty of players that took roids that should ask for their money back because it didn't do shit for them, right? So, and I think that's just because they didn't have any talent. It was like me getting a shot in the ass going out and all think I'm going to hit 50 home runs. Ain't going to happen. Right? It's just not going to happen.
Well, the funny thing is, Tone, I think if you look at it, you had referenced the year that saved baseball when Selig was commissioner.
Yes.
Bonds was not part of that equation. The third guy was Greg Vaughn. Everyone forgets it. He finished with 58 home runs that year.
Wow.
He was in a hunt for a little bit. I think Bonds saw that and went, "Damn, I mean, this is bullshit." And I think that's when he really started getting involved with the juice.
That's why I love these conversations because I forgot all about Greg Vaughn. Like literally, you just wow. I mean, Greg Vaughn. I mean, it's like bringing up a guy. Another roid is Albert Bell. I mean, he could barely even move. He was on so many roids, right?
And you look at this might be blasphemous, but you look at early pictures of Junior. And Junior at the end of his career, when he's jogging down the line, his barrely chest is going up and down. I wouldn't be surprised if Ken Griffey Jr. took some magic vitamins also.
Caminetti was driving to Mexico while in San Diego. Look, Trevor says Aramis Ramirez greater than Scott Rowland.
Trevor, go home, Trevor. I love you, Trevor. But Trevor, I love you. You're always in the show, but no way, dude.
No way.
You just lost your man card.
He also says Mark Burley. It is not Mark Burley. I tell you that. Somebody brought up Vinny Castilla. Oh, it's Trevor. Vinny Castilla. Royds, probably.
Bichette, right? Too.
Probably. Dante Bichette. How about Larry Walker?
Exactly. He was teammates. You don't see a guy in the locker room sticking a needle in his ass and go, So, I mean, Walker gets a pass too. So
yeah, a lot of these guys, man.
That's the whole thing. And we probably named a name or two that were completely innocent. But look what happened. Everyone gets lumped into the equation except for Scott Rowland.
That's ends with mismanagement, right? Like that's the whole thing. That's the whole shit.
That's true.
It's not just that they allowed a culture for like 15 years where these guys were doing it all the time, but then once it gets to the point where it's found out publicly, I mean, we've got the American government having hearings and putting like Sammy Sosa sat in a chair in a trial. Yeah. Like that's insane. So
and it became a Saturday Night Live skit. No speak English.
Yeah, which is great, but like that's
Rafi Palmeiro.
Yeah, exactly. No, you're right. You're right. I mean, it was huge.
How do you allow that? And the problem is that you're not going to get any level of accountability. Like if Bud Selig came out, and I had to Google this as we were talking about it. Apparently, Bud Selig is not dead. I don't know what shape he's in at 86 years old, but like if you got him, like, and I don't even know if it would fix anything at this point, but if he came out and had any sense of accountability with any of this and was like, we let this get out of control, looking back on it in my old age, I've made mistakes, and like these guys are a product of the culture I created, these guys would get in a heartbeat. Like, that changes everything.
Yes.
But you're not going to – I don't know if you'll ever get that, and the clock's running out. So, like, that – but that's the one thing I can think of that could actually change the perception a little bit. Otherwise, we're all just dug in, and it's mostly a generational divide.
Let me ask you this before we move on. We got about 10 minutes left, and it's a great conversation because I want to talk a little bit. I want to ask you guys something about Joel Embiid. But if this wasn't Barry Bonds – if it was, do you think this is only the whole problem gets enhanced because nobody liked Barry? He was a bit. I kind of think it does. Like if this was Ken Griffey Jr., I don't think this is as big of an issue as it was if it was Barry Bonds.
No, that from that perspective, I agree with you. And if you remember Ken Griffey, who again, in my opinion, was on it. He achieved well over 600 home runs, but he was breaking down big time at the end of his career.
Yes, I was going to say that. Yep.
And that's one of the
telltale sign.
Exactly. And so, yeah, from that perspective, I do agree with you. But when it gets you to such an important historical record of Hank Aaron's home runs, that started to really upset people. And
you're right.
I know the answer. But do you know how many total home runs he finished with? We all knew 755.
763. 762.
Wow.
But my point is, we all know 755.
True.
And so I think the iconic record going down on top of the fact he was, a jerk.
I think
definitely play. But I think you're right, Tom. The more I think about it, Junior gets a pass and he doesn't.
Here's
A-Rod 2's in trouble, right?
Well, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. Absolutely. Well, he's right. Listen, he's married to my ultimate
ass chick. And A-Rod.
So props to A-Rod, man.
But does A-Rod help his cause by being a network guy now and being and he's well liked in the broadcast. I think he does a fine job. So I think that brings people back in this corner when he was always thought of as a prick too.
Yeah, he was. You're right. Hey, but here's the thing about Barry. The last thing I'll say about Barry, the thing that pisses me off is you'll never ever see, whether you want to say it's roids or not, you'll never see another player that was so feared like Barry Bonds. You'll never see them walk the bases loaded, not to face Barry Bonds. He did, they're the memories I have. I don't always have memories of home runs at McCovey Cove and guys is on paddle boats chasing down ball. No, I have those visions of he's getting what? Like, are you kidding me? The announcer going, Vince Scully going crazy. Like, what the hell are these guys? They're walking them. Like, never thought you would ever see that. So they're the kind of memories I have. Does anybody have the picture? He said, "Clemens." So Vince, do you have a guess for the pitcher?
The only guess I've got is Robin Roberts.
It is not Robin Roberts. I will say this is not a roid guy too. Well, this is not a roid guy either.
So I have two guesses. The only reason I said Clemens is because you brought the topic up.
Yeah, that's fine.
The only guy I could think of is Glavin or Maddox type of guy.
It's Greg Maddux.
Okay,
it's Greg Maddux.
And then the other guy that comes to mind. I knew it wasn't the answer, but this is a whole nother debate for a whole nother show. And I'm very opinionated on this one. We could have a whole conversation on guys that shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame.
Oh yeah, I know
the Hall of Average or the Hall of Very Good, in my opinion. I know the guy put up numbers, but he pitched like 24 years. Was a guy like Don Sutton, God rest his soul. To me, doesn't belong in the Hall of Fame, but he was a prolific 14-game winner for many, many, many years.
No, you're right. You're right. We could definitely have a whole show. But listen to this. Maddox, who pitched from 86 to 2008, won more games during the 90s than any other pitcher. Throughout his career, he logged 355 wins and 33,371 strikeouts. The dude was a monster.
He had the Eric Gregg outside corner, too. Don't forget that.
He brought the statement "painting the black" belongs to Greg Maddux, right? Adam was going to say, Matt, he said Carlton first. Another good name for real, absolutely. But I love these trivia questions because it brings you back because there's so many fond memories of you said Glavine, Smoltz. Now Smoltz, Maddox, Steve Avery, Denny freaking Nagel, Kevin Millwood, right? I mean, you think about the rotations, unbelievable. That team, how many years, Dan or Vince? Do you know how many years they win that pennant straight? Was it like
14?
13 years?
Yeah, their first one was 91. And then they
wow, that was impressive.
So they one World Series though. Could you imagine us being that team? I still get apoplectic that we only won one World Series in that little run we had. And to me, the team that won the World Series wasn't our best team of the the first year we lost to the Rockies. I think we were just happy we finally took that step. Yeah. But 08, 9 and 10 were killers. And they were in a playoff for like double-digit years, and they only won one World Series. Could you imagine being a Philadelphia Phillies fan in that environment?
Bobby Cox, man. Cox. Not Trevor checking this is 91 to 2005. Trevor's our stat guy.
That's 15 years, right? That's 15 years.
That's crazy. It's crazy. All I can picture is Leo Mazzoni in the clubhouse, just rocking back and forth, and Sid Bream got chugging his big ass around third base, 2 knee braces, can barely even walk.
Mike LaValliere trying to tag him.
I hear you, man. I hear you. But you know what? Before we move on, we got 10 minutes left. Let me just bring up a couple things. Number one, we're going to get to walk-up music, and we'll stick in baseball. But I'll bring up a topic every week. And one thing that really irked me, and it's in the baseball genre, is I collected sports cards as a kid. I still collect them now. I don't know about you guys, but I'll tell you something. The amount of grown men acting like a bunch of morons over trying to get baseball cards now is absurd. I went to Target the other day, and they literally had a line outside, right? And I'm like, man, I don't want to wait in line to get in the Target. And I read the sign. It said, baseball card line. I'm like, baseball card line, right? I'm like, what is this? It's like the X-Men series tickets or something? Like, what's going on? So I asked the girl, she goes, oh, we have a shipment that comes in for our baseball cards, and these people they've called us to know when the shipment comes in. So she said we've actually had fights in the aisles over these cards. So I'm like, you're kidding me, right? Like $20 booster boxes. Like, this is what the world's come to. We're in a pandemic, right? All this shit going on, and guys are fighting over boxes of baseball cards. Like, I just, what friggin' world are we living in, man? I had to say, I was shocked. Because I love the art of collecting cards. I still do it here and there. Not like that. I'm like, you got to be kidding me, man. Like, are you like? I would have laughed. I would have been embarrassed to stay in that line. To be honest with you, I'd have been, hey, what are you waiting in line for? Concert ticket to have baseball cards? Like, are you kidding me, dude? Like, how old are you? Like,
well, is this like it's not for the kids, right? It's not like Jingle All the Way where they're fighting each other over the ball,
it's for themselves.
But yeah, it's for them. Like, that's a mistake, man. Wait, how did this happen that the cards are so popular again? When did this?
It's crazy. So during the pandemic, the value boost, because people weren't going to shows and everybody went to eBay. It just boosted the value of cards up 200-300%.
Wow,
it is crazy. I'll tell you what. I have a LeBron rookie. It's one of my favorite cards. That at the time before the pandemic was worth $200. Right now, I could sell it for $4,500. It's ridiculous. What? I'm not kidding. I am not kidding,
dude.
LeBron.
You gotta sell it.
Absolutely insane.
GameStop shares, just like live that life, dude. Just live that life.
Yo,
Dogecoin. There we go. Where's he? Okay.
Now, while he's getting a card, Vince, I'll tell you the truth. I'm sorry, that was fast.
There it is, right there, man. It's a mint 9 too. Graded. That's I'll tell you. But again, that's because I have fun. I like this. I like looking at it. It's cool. I'm not waiting in line to try to pick one of these out of a box with 40 guys who are 50 plus years old, ready to go like swinging, in the aisle 9 by the shampoo over baseball cards. Like, you got to be kidding me, man.
The way I collected cards, I think we've had this conversation. And
you were a pinwheel guy.
No,
Okay.
I wouldn't damage. That's damaging the card. That's not fair.
Exactly.
I'm speaking to the old heads out there. I happen to live on the street.
We are old heads, bro. Vince ain't old. Me, you were old heads.
No. I'm not talking. I'm talking to the guys on the column that are commenting. I'm not talking. Or should I go this? I don't know. Yeah. The box is screwing me up. No, I know Vince is a young man now.
I'm 13.
Right. He's getting bar mitzvah next weekend, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
So I was in the middle of a street where on one end was Wawa and on the other end was 7-Eleven. So I could have gone Slurpee or Hoagie, whatever I felt like doing. But when I was a kid, I would walk to those stores and I would buy a pack of cards, take the bubble gum out, chew that shitty bubble gum. And that's how I collected cards. That was it. And I developed a decent collection. I have shoe boxes full of cards from that being the way.
Be careful.
What do you mean?
Oh, people be hitting up your house. You better get rid. My parents are like, can you get the goddamn cards out of the house already? Because I'm an old man that still has my box of cards at my parents' house. But see, they're telling you, yeah.
But anyway, that I actually frowned upon the people that bought the whole box of collection year after year. I thought the way to do it was, almost like the golden ticket. You go to Wawa and did I get that, at the time the version of the LeBron card. Like I told you, my prize card was the Gretzky card his first year with the Oilers.
Oh wow.
I got that at a Wawa, just by luck.
But the business is just taken off.
Right.
It's taken off. It's been unbelievable.
Jose Lima.
I get Jose Lima. Jesus, Trevor.
Yeah. What's my Bobby Hoying rookie card worth?
Yo, is that before when he won his first game, or was it after he started losing? Oh my God! We thought he was going to be the savior too. Bobby Hoying, man. There was a lot of Bobby Hoying jerseys out there. A lot of Bobby Hoying.
And then Mike McMahon.
Trevor mentioned him earlier. Mike McMahon. Oh man. So let me ask you guys this. So it's a fun topic. We got a couple minutes left before I talk real quick on Joel Embiid before I lose the show altogether, like I normally do. But talking about baseball and walk-up music, and I think this is kind of fun because I one thing I miss is going to the game and hearing. I always loved J-Roll's walk-up music. I used to like Ryan Howard's. I loved Billy Wagner coming into the game back in the day. So if you had to pick your own walk-up song, Dan, what would be Dan Green's walk-up song? And don't give me Scott Rowland's song. I want your own.
No, I don't know what Scott Rowland's song is. I mean, this is a song that a Hall of Famer used, but there is no better entry song to Enter Sandman.
I love Enter Sandman.
That's it, and that was Mariano Rivera's song.
I love it,
but I just
that was a great song. I love Enter Sandman.
That's just Metallica guy. And Metallica is just unbelievable.
Oh, without a doubt, no doubt. Vince, where you going, buddy?
See, I want to play some psychological warfare. Okay, that's how I do this. All right. So if I'm going up to the plate, I'm fucking with somebody, right? That's the goal. I want to play a song that when I'm coming out, he's like, wait, he's not seriously coming out to this, right? So suddenly, the
girls just want to have fun.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like Dan Baker's like, ladies and gentlemen, Vince Quinn. And it's like, my baby takes the morning train. He works from 9 till 5. The pitcher's like, what the hell? But he takes another home again. And I'm just ready to go. That's home.
Yeah, that would be funny, man.
You're gonna take one right in the ear.
I probably.
You're gonna take one right in the ear.
I'll take the morning train to the hospital.
Yes.
Yeah. Unbelievable. I get it. Trevor says Vince Quinn we use Call of Duty music, Call of Duty menus music. Adam says Hell's Bells.
Yeah,
Trevor
that's a good one.
Bulls on Parade, Rage Against the Machine. I have no idea what the hell that is, Trevor. I have to say.
Oh,
Dan,
great one.
Is it? I have to Google that, man. I have to Google that. I don't know that song.
I don't.
Now, Dan, you stole my song because I was going to say
I'm sorry.
That's okay because I always I gotta have backup. So I'm a hip hop guy, but for me, I can't walk up with hip hop. I got to go like some back in the day rock. So me is Paradise City from Guns N' Roses. I love GNR. I love Axl. I love that song, one of my favorite songs. So I would definitely go rock because I don't think you can walk up with rap. Now, Vince, you made me think. I'm thinking like that would be pretty cool. Like I know you guys don't watch wrestling. I would say like the Firefly song for the Fiend, but you wouldn't know what that is. But maybe like the Pee Wee Herman like music or something, right? Or like maybe you go back like give them like the Family Matters theme. Like everyone's like, what the hell is this? Like all of a sudden, you know what I mean? So I like that idea to be messing with. Nobody's going to expect that. Nobody.
No. Like what's Max Scherzer doing on the mound with?
Exactly.
How about the Immigrant Chance song would be pretty cool too.
Well, you know what? It's funny. Think about this. This would be something perfect for the movie Major League. You know, because that movie was basically one of my favorite movies of all time. But you know, it was built on that parody. So it would be so funny. It would be like perfect for that. Like with Rick Vaughn coming out as Wild Thing. Like, where are you from? California Penal League. Like what? Like, you know what I mean? Like, so it's just so many different things, man. Crazy. But let me ask you guys this. Let's end the show on this because Joel Embiid, Philadelphia 76ers, 100%. You know. Eastern Conference Player of the Month. The guy's playing on another level. But I have to ask you guys because I know people don't want to talk about the double bounce and the Kawhi year. It sucks. We have all these visions. But let me ask you guys this because I think this is interesting. If you took that same Sixers team in 2019 and you were able to take the Joel Embiid that he didn't have diarrhea, he wasn't sick, all this, the MVP Joel Embiid that's playing right now, stick that version on that team. Do you think we win Game 7 and you think we go to the finals? Because I honestly think we do. I do. Because the way this team is centered right now, it's not about Seth Curry to me. It's not about it right now. It's about Joel Embiid just taking over games and being consistent. So I actually think they would win that game if Joel was this version of him back in 2019. I'm not sure. Vince, what do you think?
Well, here's the thing, Tony. I'll say they don't win a Game 7 because they win it in 5.
There you go. I like that.
I mean, it's not a 7-game series. If he's playing every game and he's playing like that, he's a totally different player. It's amazing. So yeah, done.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's one of those things. You watch this guy play, and he's just unbelievable right now. Dan, you think they win that game?
No, Vince kind of stole my thunder. I was going to go 6. You said 5, but I was going to say 6.
The guest privilege.
He had no, and a young guest. He had, I believe, 21 and 10 boards in that game. So he's, look at his numbers this year. So right off the bat. Now the other thing, just to play devil's advocate, but again, I still think they win the series in 6. Is that was not a COVID year. That was a full season. He was beat up, run down. Right now, he's played, a shortened schedule.
Yep.
So he's not exhausted. He is in the best shape he's been in a while. But, let's hope at the playoffs, he's not run down a little bit. And if, he that was younger Gasol that went up against him as well, where he owned him the other night when he was with the Lakers.
Well, that's true. That was a much younger Gasol because I think Gasol aged like 5 years in the last year. He was
in JoJo's head. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah,
him and Al Horford were in his head when every time he'd go up against him.
100%. I agree. I would go Take On Me.
See, there you go.
Oh, there's a song. How about who was
Take on me?
Rick Astley. A little Rick Astley song.
Yeah.
I'm never going to give you up.
There you go. Exactly. A little Steve Winwood.
Run around and desert you.
We can have some fun with this, man. We have to start doing some Heat Ratio intro songs. There's some
Heat Ratio karaoke.
Yeah. Oh,
there you go.
I'm winning that. Put some Soldier Boy on and I'm winning that, bro. But nah, I'm just kidding. But anyway, listen, a fantastic episode. Wind this down. I want to stick on an hour and 15. We're an hour and 12. Perfect. I did my job this week, which is tremendous. Vince, thanks so much for joining us. And let everybody know, man, where they can find you, where they can find your stuff and what you're doing next.
Yeah, so my address is you can find me on Twitter at It's Vince Quinn. That's the easiest way to find me personally. All the other stuff I do, putting podcasts together and all that, you can find that with Last Out Media. So check us out there. It's me, John Barcher, John Crichton, and pretty new company. So we're putting shows together. We're helping people out with their podcasts. Feel free to hit us up there. And that's pretty much all I got.
Yeah. If you notice down the banner, you'll see his hashtag along with me and Dan's at it's Vince Quinn is really hard to remember. I'm telling you, man. Bro, yeah. Mine's at Ticatillo. Dan's is at DMG for his initials, so it's really not that difficult to find us. But as always, I appreciate you hopping on last minute. I know we were going to play something for next week, but you were gracious enough to be with us tonight, which is tremendous. Dan, again, thanks for hopping on. I know it's usually Coach Dave and John has some issues. Hopefully, we'll be back next week. Mikey Goog, same thing. But as always, man, check us out, Eat Ratio Sports. We're up to 6 days a week. We just added another show today that'll be coming out the next couple of days. So we will be 7 days a week content. We got some really good things planned. So we got a good crew trying to emulate what guys like Last Out Media and things of that nature are doing. So 100%. I mean, they set the bar. So we're just trying to raise it as well. At the end of the day, as I always say, just stay safe, stay healthy, man. Get through this pandemic and get everybody safe and, keep chugging day after day and keep the sports talk up. And I hope everybody wins their bet to Super Bowl 55. I'm Tony Jigsaw. We'll talk to you next week.